First tool is learning Git and GitHub. So what is this Git? Git is nothing but a technology which lets you manage your code with versioning in it. So it's not really a complex technology. It just lets you to store one snapshot of whatever the code is present at whatever the time you want to give the timestamp to it. For example, you have coded one simple website. That time, once that website is complete, you can give one timestamp saying, okay, like everything is set. Then after that, you will try to add one new feature to it. When you are adding new feature to it, there is high chance that you might have to revert back to that original website, which is like perfect. So that time, what do? You can literally not use Git and you can go ahead and start to code it. Then if you want to go back to previous version, you have to remove all the code files and code which you might have inserted in the middle of some file. So that's very hectic task for most people, and it even gets more tougher when there are so many files and so many people working on same file. So Git manages this particular problem only, and it helps you solve this. So what happens is whenever that snapshot is created, that time you can make sure that whatever the new feature you are working on, if it doesn't go as you planned, you can always revert back to previous snapshot which you have stored. It's really amazing tool when you are actually using it, and it really helps you to manage the code. And whereas GitHub is a cloud Git provider, meaning it will just store whatever the Git repository present in cloud, and it also helps you to collaborate with other people so that everybody in your team can work together and make sure one project is coded properly, and it helps you to manage it using branches and other features which GitHub provides. So as a DevOps, I feel like learning Git and GitHub is really important, and it's amazing tool to learn also. Second tool would be to learn Jenkins. So what is this Jenkins actually? It's nothing but it's an online tool which lets you to create pipeline, and this pipeline will actually do most complex jobs which you might have to manually do. For example, you have one Git repository and you want to release it to one server. So what's the actual method which you might have to follow? You have to set up the server. Once you have server set up, you might have to install Git and whatever the programs which you need in that particular server. Once that's done, you have to set up some kind of pipeline using which from your local laptop the code goes to that particular server. And once it goes to that particular server, you have to manually test it and manually release it to maybe beta server, then maybe to production level server. Telling it in words might sound easy, but actually when you go there and try to do these things, it's very tough. Jenkins helps you to solve this particular problem only. So using Jenkins, you can set up certain workflow which will allow you to just code something, and when you push it online to maybe Jenkins server, that time it will automatically test your API or a website which you are trying to build. And once that testing is over, you can set some criteria for maybe failing that particular test or maybe to mark it as successful. So once that's marked successful, it will then go to maybe testing server using which people can manually test it. Once that test is over, they can maybe send it to production level server. So Jenkins lets you to manage this particular thing only. So once you make sure Jenkins works as per your expectation, then it's very easy to make sure pipeline works as per your expectation, and you can always go and check if something is not working properly in Jenkins dashboard only. So that's very useful tool to have as a DevOps in any kind of organization. Third tool would be to learn Ansible. So what is this Ansible? Ansible is something which is amazing tool which lets you manage multiple servers. So imagine you are releasing one website to maybe 10 different servers. So that time what do you need in those 10 different servers? You need some kind of web server tool like Nginx or PHP or even Node.js. So what do you do with the installation of these tools? You have to manually go into each and every server, and you have to configure all these servers in order to install the web servers and whatever the other service which you you might require in them to make sure your website works fine. So doing this maybe 10 times or even 20 times or even 100 times would be very hectic job, and it's impossible for anybody to do it properly. So what's the best way to do this? Best way to do this would be to learn Ansible, and using this particular Ansible tool, you can literally write simple commands using which multiple servers will get configured just by writing one single command, and it is called as Ansible configuration. And Ansible provides you with lots of amazing tools using which you can configure all the servers using just one single file. So it's very nice tool to have. And using this Ansible playbook, it's one of the tool which Ansible provides. Using that, you can write YAML file in it, and you can literally write what and all things you need to have installed in the server. And the moment you run that particular Ansible playbook, literally all the server will get same configuration, and it will report back to you saying, okay, all the servers are set and everything is working fine. And if some server is not responding or not behaving properly, it will let you know that also, saying it failed on that particular server, so you have to go and fix it maybe manually or try to identify what the problem might be. So it's also one of the amazing tool to have as a DevOps. Fourth tool would be Docker. So what is this Docker? Docker is a containerized platform. And why do you think this particular containers will be very useful? Containers are very useful for running one particular program in the server. So what happens is, whenever you write some kind of code, it will have one web server or API in it. So what do you do with that particular API? You put it inside one container, and once that container is ready, that particular container can be released anywhere you want, and even you can send it to your friends so that they can test it in their computer. So when that container is ready and it's set up properly, that time literally it's one kind of working unit which will have everything that needs to be there for running that particular program. For example, if you're working with Node.js project, then obviously Node.js needs to be installed in your laptop or in whosever laptop you are trying to send the program to. That time, telling them that install this particular Node.js version and configure it to run it certain way is very tough to tell, as well as for them to set it up. So what do? You containerize that particular Node.js application with whatever the configuration you want, and literally that container can run in any place as long as Docker is installed in their system. The moment Docker is present on that particular system and they run one certain command, it will install the Node.js and configure it in certain way, and it will run as a program in that particular system, and it will have all the same configuration whatever the original author have put inside it. So Docker helps you to ship the program amazingly with same setting without having to worry about installing other things in order to that program to run. So Docker is also one of the best tool which you can learn as a DevOps. Fifth and the final tool would be Kubernetes. So what is this Kubernetes? Kubernetes are nothing but a container orchestrator. So what exactly does that complex word mean? It just means that whatever the container which I told, Docker containers. Now if you want to send it to one particular system, then you can make that container and you can send it to another person and they'll be able to use it. Now imagine sending it to 100 different computers and making sure that when other user comes and access that particular API or a website, that time it needs to increase itself to maybe 200 or 300 or how much ever you want it to be increased as. You can always use Ansible file and manage these things, but there are other easier tools like Kubernetes which will make sure this particular thing works fine. So in Kubernetes, there are multiple nodes and each and every node is one Docker container shipped inside it. It's not necessary that you have to use Docker only. You can use some other containerized platform also, but usually people like to use Docker with the Kubernetes. If you want to increase any kind of node or if you want to increase the server load whenever user comes and sees the website, that time you can easily do with API which is provided by Kubernetes. So that's also one of the best tool which you can learn as a DevOps. So that's it for this video, guys, and if you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.